watching? Like, how did you hear about what all was being said?
Yeah, no, I definitely saw it on social media. Yeah, I think there's a kind of thing happening, but as a Puerto Rican woman, Puerto Rican, I think the thing that most offended me was hearing that happen in Madison Square Garden. The amount of people who are listening to that, this administration can try to distance themselves all they want from this, but this is a comedian that they vetted, that they handpicked, that they chose to be there. I can tell you from going to many of these rallies, from being a surrogate in the past, that this kind of stuff is very much vetted, gone through, and approved. It goes through quite a lot in order to make sure it's in the voice and tone and messaging of the campaign. And so this is also echoing a lot of policies and rhetoric and comments and actions from this administration and from the past, before he was president, while he was president, and since. So this is absolutely something that they stand by, and it's absolutely abhorrent. Puerto Rico is a colony. They do not have full representation in this country, but they are Americans, and they do not forget. After Hurricane Maria, having paper towels thrown at them and aid being blocked to them, that was only released when Biden and Harris came into power. And so I'm really, as I'm here in Georgia doing get out the vote efforts and seeing people's reaction to this and how motivating it's making them, I'm really happy to see the response by people who are stepping up and making sure that we don't go back. And that we progress toward a better vision. This happens in stark contrast to Kamala Harris actually declaring what her plan is specifically for Puerto Rico and her opportunity economy that she is talking about for all of America, and specified a task force specifically for Puerto Rico. So for me, it couldn't be more clear the choice for voters needs to be in this election.
We're talking to actress Rosario Dawson right now about comedian Tony Hinchcliffe and the backlash that he's receiving after his speech during Donald Trump's rally. When you think about New York and it being one of the greatest melting pots in the world, when you think about the place where these very hateful words were uttered, what does it make you think about, the agenda of the party? Like you said, they had to have decided this is a good guy to have us come on and speak for us, because he's got a lot of things. He's got a Netflix special. He's got some Snoop Dogg stuff. He's a very incendiary comedian. What were your thoughts about him as a choice?
I think it just shows an ignorance for this administration and the kind of campaigning that they are doing. This is a campaign that's wanting to do mass deportations, stopping from folks being able to come here and have a child and then become a citizen. And when you're pushing back on second largest community and demographic of Americans, as Latinos are, it just speaks to your ignorance to be talking about them this way and not talking into the contributions they do, how much they are completely transforming this country for the positive. This is a group that is putting in tons of money into our taxes, putting money into our Medicare and Medicaid system, and this is an administration that's talking about getting rid of Medicare and Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act, and really hurting communities. So, as much as the rhetoric might be very pointed at Latinos and women and Jewish people and all folks of color, really, this is an attack on all Americans that is being promised by an administration as such as his. And I think that, again, this just speaks to the opportunity that we have in front of us, because, we say that New York is a melting pot, but I like to think of it as a salad, because when you have a salad, all of its different colors and pieces and everything stays as vibrant and beautiful and colorful as it is. And it's just that much more delicious, that much more healthy. And that is who we are as a fabric of this country. The border crossed, over 9 states that used to be a part of Mexico. So the idea of saying that Latinos, Mexicans, are just murderers and rapists who are coming into this country and soiling the blood of this country just shows a tremendous lack of ignorance into what it actually is to be an American, and the border crossing millions of people, not the other way around. These folks came up on boats late to the party and are trying to say that somehow they claim this place, but there are Native people here 13,000 years ago and beyond. Like this is a land that has a rich and beautiful culture and history, and it's vibrant, and it's what is bringing us into a future that we can all be proud of, that's healthy. And we need to be recognizing everybody's contributions and stopping this kind of communication that is making it just dangerous for people. And it's just undignified, and it's stupid, honestly. And it's just not true. It's just not real. And I hope people see through it and don't vote against themselves, but vote for a brighter future.
I love that you said that you feel like New York is a salad, and that is very true. Now, recently, actually just 6 hours ago, the Donald Trump administration is saying that this joke does not reflect the views of the presidential campaign. And of course, the comedian has come back and said that, people don't have a sense of humor. So can you just give us what would be your comment towards the campaign, the presidential campaign specifically, about what they had to say, and now they're trying to distance themselves from the comments, even though they've picked this person?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they are trying to distance themselves, just as they are trying to distance themselves from Project 2025, though most of the people in Trump's administration are the folks who wrote it. And, their choices from the Heritage Foundation for the Supreme Court justice picks were exactly the people that Trump picked. There is no distancing themselves, except for folks who are getting misinformation and disinformation and not understanding the actual facts. But anyone who's got their eyes open, who's really paying attention, can see through, that they're just trying to get around bad press. And it's not working. I think people really see through it. This is a rhetoric that's been happening for a long time. Trump is someone who put out, for our exonerated 5, an ad in the paper to call for the death penalty for 5 young men, Black and Latino. This is someone who's been held to account for having racist policies for his housing. This is someone who's started off his last campaign for his first presidency around calling Mexicans rapists and murderers. And we saw, again, his policy during COVID, during, Hurricane Maria, and all of these other moments where Latinos were really detrimentally affected. And so it goes beyond just words. That's the problem, right? It goes beyond just rhetoric. If it was just words, maybe a low IQ person could find it funny. But there's nothing funny about the fact that, an administration that wants to dismantle the EPA, who's, allowed for 100 more pesticides to be put on our food, who has just done all of these different things that has made us sicker and worse, who's overturned Roe v. Wade with the justices who lied when they said they were going to respect precedent. And now women are bleeding out in hospitals and in parking lots and being criminalized for having very normal, natural, statistical miscarriages. He won't release his medical records, but he wants to track pregnancies of women across the country and have girls who have been raped have to have children that could kill them, that could literally change their lives. So this is, a very, very dangerous person. So it's not funny. It's not about not having a sense of humor. It's about understanding that there's actually an island of plastic in the ocean, and we are finding, microplastics in our brains and breast milk. And we need to do something about the environment and have people in office who actually believe in climate change, not someone like this who wants to dismantle, so many different branches of our government and stop and unregulate everything just for unfettered capitalism and make us all sicker and worse for it. So, again, I think we have something really special in a Harris-Walz presidency. And they're grown-ups who understand the problems that are ahead of us, and we have some very serious ones. So we need someone at the helm. I want to remind people there's going to be a lot of folks who are not going to have family members at their, family tables this holiday season, because when Trump was actually tested as a leader, he failed terribly, and a lot of lives were lost during the beginning of the pandemic for COVID. And to think that his solution to that, if with a second administration, would be to dismantle and get rid of Medicare, Medicaid, and the Affordable Care Act is just horrendous. So please, I'm really reaching out to folks to see this for what it is and vote accordingly.
We got Rosario Dawson on the line. First of all, I need to say, tu sabe. You know what I'm saying? Listen, what is the type of call to action, especially with the comments made about Puerto Rico, that you want Boricuas to get together and do something about?
I think, Harris is just released, and I would ask folks to look it up. What she's talking about with her opportunity economy, everything from expanding Medicare to cover for family members who are sick and being able to help families who are dealing with that, for, making our healthy school nutrition programs, expanding access for kids in school to have access to food, who are talking about a $25,000 credit for people to get first-time homes. There's just so many different things that we've seen actually be passed under a Biden-Harris administration, that they had a very small majority. And those things really benefited. We're down to 18% of Latinos in this country not being covered by health care. With what Trump's policies are promising, that would skyrocket back up to 30% of Latinos not being covered. And when you have a Supreme Court that's saying we're going to criminalize homelessness, and most people are illness away from being homeless themselves, that's just horrendous. It's just inhumane. And so I really, Latinos, we are the second largest demographic of Americans in this country. We're turning 18 every 30 seconds. This is, the direction of the country is going to go according to how we vote. We are the swing deciding vote in multiple of these swing states. And already we've seen Latinos stepping up and making the difference. And that's why we have the, Infrastructure Reduction Act and so many other things that have gone in as policies under the Biden-Harris administration, because they showed up and voted. And I'm expecting them to do the same. We really need folks to vote, not just Harris Waltz on the top of the ticket, but to vote all the way down and make sure that they have a Congress and a Senate to help them pass through this legislation around gun reform, around a woman's right to choose and reproductive rights. And I think we have the opportunity here, especially with Latinos who hopefully are incredibly incensed. If they were sitting it out, if they were, not paying attention, if they were dealing with what's going on in their lives, because there's a lot of stress out there. I hope that this caught their attention and made them understand the urgency and the necessity for them to show up and vote. There's a lot of places that you can be early voting right now. I would take advantage of that. You don't want to wait until the last minute and then have your line, be so long that you feel like you can't wait. Please make a plan to vote. Please bring people along with you, and vota con ganas, por favor. Vota con ganas.
We want to thank actress Rosario Dawson for the time today on Ryan Cameron Uncensored. We appreciate the time and very well, thought out messaging to all the people out there that are listening. And hopefully it will be a call to action for those around the world. We appreciate you today.
Thank you. I so appreciate the time. Thanks for covering this, y'all.
Thank you very much.